Hello, this is Alan Ellis, and this is my persuasive speech for SCLA 102. The topic I have chosen to go over is why MacBooks are a poor choice for your selection of a laptop, and my advice would to be get a Lenovo ThinkPad as a better option. My main points are that MacBooks are overpriced and hard to repair. They limit users through compatibility restrictions, and that the Lenovo ThinkPad is a better choice because it offers better durability, customization, and price, and has a better price. In terms of MacBooks being overpriced and hard to repair, MacBooks are a much more expensive option than more reasonable options like Windows laptops and a ThinkPad, and especially an option such as the Chromebook. That is universally known as sort of the budget option for anybody looking for a laptop that while may not be able to do the most that you need it to do or even everything you need it to do. It is a laptop that will be able to function and for an extremely reasonable price. A great point for Chromebooks is they have a great virus protection and which is really the main selling point of the Chromebook is the cheap price and the virus protection. But besides that, MacBooks are just much more expensive than other options. Even Windows laptops are much cheaper than laptops. Not in recent years, they are a little bit more expensive. But unlike MacBooks, Windows keeps a large range of laptops available with many different HP is a Windows laptop as well, and there's many other products. So Windows just has a much larger range of prices to choose from, which allows you to get a much better deal versus MacBooks tend to phase out options a lot sooner than other products. Apple's right to repair restrictions increase your long-term cost. That is to say that the restrictions in the inability to repair Apple's ecosystem, essentially, or Apple's MacBooks, increase your repair time over time, increase the total cost of repairs over time. A big example of this is that in 2017, Apple got into a class action lawsuit about them purposely making old devices obsolete over time. Apple, after long legal battles, decided to pay out a $50 million dollars to, or I think it was 500 million to help support people. 500 million in compensation in 2020, which worked out to be approximately $25 per affected user. The reason that they chose to do this was because of the batteries, which was the main failing point of these devices, that the lithium ions had failed. But the reason why these devices were obsolete instead of simply needed repairing was because of the speed at which they depleted, which obviously is going to cost you a lot of batteries over time, and also the inability to repair. Big problem with Apple in terms of repair is the screws that they choose to use. They don't use the same small Phillips or Starbit screws, which are extremely easily accessible for people to get into. Instead, they use a different type of screw that they say is to prevent people from being able to access them as easily or accidentally unscrew them, and which simply causes and makes it harder for the average user to repair because they need specialty tools versus other devices such as Lenovo ThinkPads or even Windows laptops are much easier and available to repair. My second point being that MacBooks offer less compatibility restrictions, offer more compatibility restrictions. This is with software and hardware. Software is not as big of a deal. There are certain software restrictions. In fact, Murray State has an article on what laptops would function for certain degrees, and they have been stated that MacBooks are not a good fit for certain majors and degrees because they're unable to acquire the correct software on their devices through their operating system, which is going to cause them, which would make it impossible for those people taking those majors to actually complete the courses. In terms of hardware, MacBook is not very upgradable. They have soldered CPUs, which most laptops nowadays have, so it's not as big of a deal. But they're very much so integrated in. You're unable to change out certain parts as you would be able to do, such as on a custom PC or Lenovo. As I will get into, Lenovo is a much better option for customization and upgradability. These hardware and software restrictions might not affect daily users who simply have a MacBook for like enjoyment, like watching YouTube or simply sharing photos or editing photos. But in terms of people who want to use it for work or school on certain majors, they're unable to use the MacBook properly in those areas. In terms of why Lenovo ThinkPads are the superior choice over MacBooks and over, in my opinion, Windows laptops and Chromebooks, is because of the customizability that the ThinkPad offers you. Also, the range of prices. Lenovo ThinkPad is renowned for being able to be upgradable regardless of what version. In fact, it has multiple different lines, which I think there's a lot. There's probably around 20, if I'd have to guess, of different just versions on different reasons on different modes on which you need a laptop. Like some are for performance, and some are simply for lightweight, so they're easier to carry. But the older Lenovo MacBooks, Lenovo ThinkPads, are much better in my opinion because those are very highly customizable. The T440p, the ThinkPad T440p, is one of the last ThinkPads to have a socketed CPU, which means that you can take out the CPU. It has pins on it, which you can remove and then put in a new CPU that has the correct pins on it, versus newer ThinkPads and every other laptop on the market all have soldered CPUs. The reason why that is so much better is because in older ThinkPads, they didn't have availability to have these better CPUs, but because they made those socketed, it allows you to remove the old CPU and install a newer CPU that they didn't have at the time, which could upgrade it greatly. Also, RAM and storage are very easily upgradable. You can simply take out a stick of RAM and install a new one. And once again, same as the CPUs, RAM has grown greatly in terms of speed and size for the laptops. So there's many options for much better RAM that wasn't available back then. And same thing with storage. You can add much more storage and better storage systems onto the ThinkPads rather than what was there before. And because you are able to upgrade them and the CPU is socketed and you can interchange the RAM and it's so easy to remove and put on these new upgrades, that in the future, as time goes on, as more and better technology is released, these ThinkPads will still be able to be upgraded and used rather than having to discard it and buy a whole new one, which would be the case for the MacBooks, especially for the newer MacBooks, the MacBook Air that has recently come out. That MacBook is primarily running on the same specs as an iPhone, but just has a extremely large battery. That's where majority of the heft comes from, which is obviously not very good for people wanting a reliable, long-lasting laptop. It's not going to last as long, and it's going to become outdated quite quickly because the phones, Apple phones, update extremely quickly, and new innovations are constantly being made. So if they're using the same software, the same hardware and software in the new MacBooks, then they're going to be outdated just as quickly as the phones are. It's because of all those reasons that it is because of the MacBook's prices and it's unable to be repaired effectively, that I believe that the Lenovo ThinkPad is a superior choice over the MacBook in terms of a MacBook for business and education.